CTP insurance, whether it's offering value, whether there's a better way of going about things when it comes to providing the protection that CTP does provide. The director of the Road Trauma Support Group, Zac Duke, has been part of the hearings today and joins us. G'day, Zac.
Good afternoon, Clinton, to you and your listeners.
Thank you for your time today. We do spend a lot of time in this program talking about insurance, and with many insurance policies, we have the luxury of choosing whether we're going to have insurance or not. For instance, private health insurance. The reality is with CTP, we don't have a choice, and that's for an important reason, isn't it?
Of course, yes. So I'm here today to speak to you to represent my beautiful mum, Jo Duke, as well as my family. My mum, Jo, was killed in the most horrific of circumstances in November 2019. And so, of course, on the back of that, obviously the New South Wales CTP scheme is an important thing. And on the back of that, as you mentioned, I'm also very proudly affiliated and in more recent times taken up a directorship of the Road Trauma Support Group in New South Wales.
Zac, what happened to your mum?
Mum was just travelling home from work. It was just one Wednesday afternoon. We obviously refer to it as a very dreadful day, taking the same route, the same way home as she had taken for more than a decade as a long-standing employee at New South Wales Health. And it was just, sadly for us, a case of the wrong place at the wrong time. And so she was hit head-on by a grossly speeding driver who was travelling in the opposite direction on a main road in Eastwood in Sydney.
Well, you're brave, Zac, for then dedicating now so much time to try to fight for victims of road trauma, because obviously it's changed your family. The hearings today, they've covered a lot of material. What are the key takeouts for you at the moment?
Yeah, really interesting, actually. It was eye-opening for me. We were one of several parties in the space of just 60 minutes were afforded to give what's called an opening statement to this committee hearing. And so we joined colleagues from organisations such as the Motorcycle Council of New South Wales, Bus and Coach New South Wales, and also the New South Wales Taxi Council. And so from our various positions, we were able to provide what we think need to be in the committee members' minds when they're deliberating on these changes. And those deliberations are actually quite diverse across those different organisations. Of course, we at the Road Trauma Support Group New South Wales, we're fundamentally about victims, particularly individuals and families who have lost loved ones due to a criminal act on roads in New South Wales.
Premiums are going up, and look, premiums are going up across the board with insurance, but there are suggestions that there can be reform to the way CTP works that potentially would not increase premiums, that could reduce some pressure. What sort of reforms do you want to see happen, and how could that actually then translate into premium increases, at least not going up as fast as they have been?
Sure. Clinton, we fundamentally believe that the CTP system in New South Wales is systematically a broken system. Often not in the victim's favour. So one thing, and this is actually a question that was put to us, I was joined by a colleague, Duncan Wakes-Miller, a fellow director of our organisation, who himself lost his son Barney in a crash that happened several years ago. And one of the members asked us sort of point blank, what is one recommendation that you believe is the most important one? Because in our submission, we actually went into detail into 12 suggested changes. But fundamentally, we believe that the CTP system needs a reorientation towards a more positive, trauma-informed process and pathway, particularly for families who have lost a loved one on the road.
And could that ease and I know primarily what CTP is about is helping people in your position, it's helping the victims. But if there could be reform that, for instance, could reduce costs, reduce administration, could that be passed on to drivers in the form of lower premiums?
Well, I think so, yeah. There's, I think, a lot of opportunity in greenfield space there. Most, if not all, of the members that are part of our organisation reports very negative experiences of sort of working through a system which is really fundamentally there to support people in our situation, but in fact it's actually quite the opposite. Myself, obviously, I've gone through and sort of come out the back end now, sort of 6 years on from this dreadful journey. So my experience, I was told, for example, by the CTP insurer when I should return to work. Well, really, it's not up to the CTP insurer to tell me when I return to work. It's actually up to my medical team that's advising on my capacity of return to work. There was even instances where the CTP insurer were behind my back calling my employer, just verifying that I actually wasn't at work, because that's what my certificate of fitness was saying at the time. So it's sort of all of these practices which are, going against, a positive recovery. And again, I'm not alone in that situation. There's many reported examples of similar kind of behaviours.
Zac, at least these issues are now being examined. Thank you for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you, Clinton.
Zac Duke, who's had a lot of personal experience in this area from the Road Trauma Support Group. So this is an upper house inquiry, and then the government will have a look at the recommendations when they're probably made in the new year. What's critical is that the victims who are involved in road trauma are looked after, but also that everyday drivers are not slugged with hideous premium increases